my doctor wanted to do an EKG on me. So the next Monday, I went back to him, and he did the EKG. And afterwards, he goes, hey, by the way, how was that visit with the doctor? So I started explaining to him that, well, he's going to do radiation and chemo and everything. And he stops me in my tracks and he goes, whoa, we're done. I said, what do you mean we're done? He said, I'm sending you to the Cleveland Clinic. He said, there's something not right. There's something not right.
So Ken, welcome to Waymaker Stories. I'm so glad that you're here with us today and that you're going to be sharing your story. I know you have an absolutely incredible story. I haven't heard everything with it. I've heard bits and pieces here and there. And I just knew, I was like, I got to have Ken on Waymaker Stories because what I've heard so far, it's remarkable, the story that you have. And so I'm really excited. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking this chance to share this. I know it's not easy to talk about some of the things that have happened to us, but thank you for your willingness to do that. Yeah. Welcome. Let's start right off. I was kind of curious. Did you grow up in the church? Did you know God right away? Walk me through your early beginning with God. When did you really start to know about him?
From the beginning of my life.
Yeah.
I was raised in the church, and my parents kept me pretty straight. But when I was 14 years old, I needed something else, and my parents were going to this little church, and my dad said that he would never leave. Well, I got invited to a Baptist church, big church where the kids had the youth was just amazing, totally amazing. So I started going up there on Sunday nights. I'd go to my dad's church on Sunday mornings, my mom's. And so then eventually I finally got brave enough, I guess you would say, because my dad was so faithful with that little church. I said, I'm going to start going on Sunday mornings. Oh, Dad wasn't too happy about it at first, but then that changed because he said, okay. So when I started going up there then, my mom says, well, maybe we need to go up on Sunday nights. And Dad says, I'm not leaving my church. And I said, okay. So it ended up, they came up on Sunday night one time and they never quit. They just kept going. Then when that church did close, because it was just maybe 20 people going there. Yeah. So they closed and they moved on up where I was at. And it was really a blessing. I mean, my parents, we've been close, been real close. And I'm glad that they brought me to Christ when I was a baby. Yeah.
So you kind of have had somewhat of a relationship with God.
All the time. There was times I maybe fall short. Yeah. But I could always tell he was right there with me at all times. And it was my fault because I was kind of falling back a little bit. And trying, but now it's totally a different story. Yeah. Totally different story. It's, I'm totally committed. Yeah. Totally committed because what he's done for me today. Yeah. There's just no way that I could ever walk away. I'm in it for I'm in it for the run, my whole life, and then my whole eternal life, I should say.
Yeah. Wow. So you knew Jesus most of your life then.
Yes.
So let's get to the story then with what happened. I know you had told me a little bit about how you discovered what you had, but walk me through. Before you tell our audience what it was that you had, walk me through that day where you had the encounter with your little friend.
Oh, yeah. It was June 1, 2017, and the sky was just gorgeous that day, just totally gorgeous. Well, I went over to see a friend of mine. Well, as I was going around the corner to get into the building, there was a pit bull that came around to the right side, and he got hooked on the front. And so I started going backwards because next thing I know, he flipped around. Well, I thought he was caught. He wasn't. He flipped around, jumped up on the engine compartment of this front end loader, and he dove at me. And his mouth grabbed my stomach and threw me to the ground. And he bounced off, but then he got back up, and then he started chewing on my shoulder. And finally, the owner came out. He saw, what was going on with me and all that. And so I'm like, I'll be all right. Things are fine, because I was one of these guys that I did not need a doctor. I feel good. What's going on?
Yeah.
So I went home and I told my wife about what happened, and she said, "Are you going to the emergency room or anything?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm fine. I'll be okay." Well, she calls her sister. Oh boy, her sister goes, "I'll be right out." So she come out and they put me in the car and they took me to the emergency room to get checked out. And I checked out okay at the emergency room.
Yeah.
And but the lady says, "Well, you're going to have to go see your regular doctor." I don't have one. Well, my wife goes, "Oh yes, you do." She said, "I'm gonna hook you up with mine." Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, okay." So she set me up an appointment, and I went there, and they needed my blood work, so I gave my blood work, and he started going through my chart, and everything I had with my blood work was like bouncing off the wall because there was just nothing within line. Mm. And then he sees my PSA, and my PSA was at a 164.4.
And what is PSA?
It's your prostate. It's the numbers on your prostate.
Gotcha. And it was what number?
It was a 164.4, and the highest it can only be is a 2.58.
Wow.
So he said, "Well, I'm going to have to send you to a urologist." And I said, "Okay." So he sets me up with one there in Sandusky. So I get over to his office, and he says, "I'm almost sure that you have prostate cancer." And I said, "Okay." He said, "I'm going to do testing on your prostate. I'm going to snip some samples off." He did 12 of them. And he said, "And if you have prostate cancer," he said, "I'm going to start radiation right away, and then I'm going to start chemo." So he went and he did the test and everything. Well, my doctor wanted to do an EKG on me. So the next Monday, I went back to him, and he did the EKG, and afterwards he goes, "Hey, by the way, how was that visit with the doctor?" So I started explaining to him that, well, he's going to do radiation and chemo and everything. And he stops me in my tracks and he goes, "Whoa, we're done." I said, "What do you mean we're done?" He said, "I'm sending you to the Cleveland Clinic." He said, "There's something not right. There's something not right," which is another blessing from God, because when I got to the Cleveland Clinic and I talked to my urologist up there, they did x-rays and everything before they did anything else.
So what did your original doctor, did he tell you what he saw that was like, "Hey, this isn't right"? Did he go into detail for that? Or
the way I was talking to him, I was telling him about the radiation and the chemo, but the guy never said anything about doing x-rays to check out to see exactly where I'm at. He just thought I had prostate cancer.
And he's just saying, "Okay, we're going to go right into radiation and right into chemo."
Exactly.
He didn't really know how bad it was at this point. He didn't know
nothing.
If it's stage 1, so he just said, "Okay, we're just going to start." Gotcha.
And that's where my doctor goes, "Whoa, that's it. We're done. I'm going to send you to Cleveland Clinic." So when I got up to Cleveland Clinic, and my urologist up there, his name's Dr. Eric Klein. He was just unreal. He just worked with me. He said, he said, "I'm doing x-rays. I'm going to see exactly where you are today." And found out that I had cancer in my prostate, cancer in my lymph nodes, and I had cancer in my pelvis.
Wow.
And he calls me at home after he did all the x-rays and stuff. He calls me at home. He says, "Ken," he said, "there's not a thing I can do for you." He said, "There is not a thing I can do." He said, "You have stage 4 advanced prostate cancer." He said, "I'm going to send you over to the cancer center," which he was hooked up with the cancer center. So I got over there, and in between all that, I prayed and I didn't know how to pray because cancer. I mean, I'm going to die.
Yeah, that's
I'm going to die. So the only and I didn't know what to pray, but I was asking God to just give me the words. And so I asked Jesus to proclaim victory over me. And then I asked Jesus to proclaim victory over me and my healing.
Yeah.
And I think that alone, Jesus knew I was serious about this whole thing.
Yeah.
When I asked to proclaim victory.
And how long, can you walk me through the time frame? How long was it from your first visit with a new doctor from Cleveland Clinic?
The cancer doctor?
Yes, the cancer doctor, the urologist there. From that point to when you got the phone call that, hey, you have stage 4 cancer. How long of a time window was that?
About a week or so.
A week. Walk me through at that point. How did you feel during that time? Where it's this window of uncertainty where you're like, okay, I know something's really wrong. I might have cancer to some extent. What did you feel at that point? Were you scared? Did you start to question God a little bit? What was it like?
It was uncomfortable. It was totally uncomfortable when he come up to me and he's just like, well, you have advanced stage 4 prostate cancer. And he said, there's not a thing I can do. Mm-hmm. And it's just like walking in darkness, walking in total darkness, because it's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
So.
Did you feel relatively healthy going into all of this?
I thought it was.
Did you have any symptoms or anything?
No.
So you had no discomfort, nothing. You just out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, I have advanced stage 4 prostate cancer.
Wow.
And so when I got over to the Tussock Center, before that, I had a 3-month gap of no medications or nothing between October of 17 till January 12th of 2018. They weren't going to give me anything because I had to go over to the cancer center, and that's the soonest I could get in.
And this is after you were diagnosed, at least you knew at this point you had stage 4 prostate cancer and you had to wait 3 months to do anything?
But here's the unique part, is when I prayed to God, it's like all of a sudden doors opened. People were coming up to me, not telling me how I can treat my cancer, but how to kill it.
Interesting.
And so they would tell me stuff that I could take, this and that. And it's mainly a lot of stuff. It's in your home. I mean, I'm not trying to be, but so I started researching all this stuff. So I thought, you know what? I think I'm going to start a regimen. I'm going to take something at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to do something at 9:30. I'm going to do something at 12:30, 1 o'clock. I do something at 6. I do something at 9. And then at 10 o'clock, I was taking my Zytiga, which is a cancer, like a chemo pill.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, every 3 months, I had to get a Lupron shot back here, and which wasn't fun. So,
but you went 3 months from the point of being diagnosed to going to the cancer center, and during that time, you started doing your own.
I started doing my own
research.
research. So I started my own regimen in October, and when I did that, this is how God works. When I entered, before I entered the Tussock Center in October, I was still at a 164.4. When I entered the Tussock Center, I was down to a 34.5 just on what I did. Wow. I dropped 130 points.
Wow.
Tell me God's not working.
Yeah.
Wow. So
when that doctor diagnosed you with stage 4, did the doctor at that point have a time frame for you at that point? Did they say?
Not until I got to the Tussock Center.
Okay.
And when I got to the Tussock Center, the doctor, as the first time I saw him, the first thing he said probably out of his mouth was, "Is you're going to die." He said, "I'll give you 36 months, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little more." He said, "I don't know, but 36 months is about what it's going to be."
Wow. And this was 2017.
Huh?
2017.
And but no, 2018 on January 12th. That's when I got the word that I'm going to die.
Wow. Wow. So you were at the cancer center, you're doing a test there, the doctor says that. Walk me through then, and I know this is difficult, but walk me through when you heard that news that 36 months, what was your reaction as far as your faith, your reaction with God? Were you angry? Were you scared? Walk me through that.
What can I do in 36 months? That was my first thought. But when I found out what God had done for me, dropping me from 164.4 down to a 34.4, I knew what I had to do those 36 months. Kill it. So I went on the mission to kill it. So on my second visit, I had a nurse practitioner. And by that time, I was down to a 2.58 on my PSA.
Wow. And how long of a time gap was it? 3 months? So 3 months after your first visit at the cancer center to your second visit was 3 months?
3 months. Every 3 months I went.
Wow. And did they offer you radiation, chemo? What did they say about that?
They told me that there's nothing they could do for me.
So they gave you a shot, right?
A shot of Lupron,
yeah,
which is supposed to help with your testosterone.
But there was no chemo, radiation,
none, except pills. I had pills called Zytiga I had to take.
So they basically told you have 36 months and that's it. I'm sorry, and let's just try to make you comfortable, basically, until then. Wow. But before you had went to the cancer center, you started your own regimen.
My own regimen.
You were praying, and you felt like doors had opened for you.
They
did.
You
did your own research.
Yes.
Wow. And your points dropped from 164.4
down to 34.4 by the time I got into the Tussock Center. That's on my own.
Yeah.
That's what God and I did. Because right now I'm on a journey with God. I mean, Jesus, and we're out to prove that you can kill cancer.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is to get out there and tell people you got to fight. Kick your faith in gear. You know, I mean, that's what it's all about, kicking your faith in gear. Don't just sit there and do something about it. Part of my journey deals with in 1 Samuel 17, verse 48, when David ran to the line to kill Goliath. Well, that's what we got to do. We got to run and kill what we've got in front of us. We have to do that.
Wow.
We have to totally do that.
Wow.
And so when I had him on the third visit, that's when I had enough, because he told me again, you're going to die. And by that time, I was in a real positive state, because I knew right then there was hope.
Yeah. So your third visit, that's technically the 9 months?
Well, that was just being 6 months.
So 6 months. Okay, so 6 months.
No, wait, you're right. 9 months.
Okay, 9 months.
Yeah, 9 months, yeah.
And so where were your numbers at by your third visit on your PSA?
1.4.
Wow. And what's a good, healthy range for PSA?
Nothing higher than 2.58.
So you, in 9 months, had got it down
to a 1.4.
To a healthy range.
But then on my third visit, he said, is there anything else you're taking besides what we know of? Well, I never told him about the regimen. And I thought, well, maybe I should tell him. So I just told him about one. Man, he stands there and he goes, you cut that out right now. He said, I want you to quit taking that stuff. You just take my pills and you take that shot and that's it. I'm like, well, so I got off of it for 4 days. And on that fourth day, I could see myself going downhill. And I said, that's it. I'm done.
What could you tell?
My feelings.
Your feelings?
Yeah, my whole body. I mean, I could just tell that I was going downhill, and I was going downhill fast. And I thought, that's it. Jesus put me on this stuff. I'm working with it all the way. So I went back on it. Things started doing good again.
Huh.
And by the time in the first part of 2019, I was already in remission.
In 2019?
2019, I was already in remission.
Wow. So that's incredible. So I want to talk really quick about the regimen. Can you go into some specifics? What are the things you discovered through your research? Was it food? Was it supplements? Was it what did you discover with that regimen? That
The one thing I'm taking right now, I really don't want to say it's 3,000 years old. The Egyptians were taking it back 3,000 years ago, and they used it for healing.
Okay.
Healing, purposes. And then I found out there's other stuff that I was taking that would kill cancer. So I decided, you know what? And I found out foods, you eat the right foods, cancer doesn't like it. So what you got to do is just take and starve it to death. So I did. I starved cancer to death because everything that I was eating, cancer didn't like.
Can you tell me some of the foods that you were taking or eating that you thought through your research that kills cancer?
Okay, mainly fruits. When you come to the fruit end of it, oranges and grapefruit, you kind of got to leave them out because they're too acidic to the body. And vegetables, but your main fruits should be like berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. They're very good for you, especially the blueberries. The blueberries are very, very good for you. And and then my foods, I had to cut out beef, pork. Mainly I'm on a Mediterranean diet, which is probably one of the best diets you could probably be on for that.
Can you walk me through with that? So Mediterranean, that's what about meats you said?
I cut out beef and pork because cancer can feed off beef and pork.
Really? So do you eat chicken?
I eat chicken breast. I eat salmon, cod. For a burger, I use ground turkey, or she uses ground turkey. Or for a meatloaf, maybe ground turkey.
Okay.
But I stay pretty tight. Even my breads are sprouted bread. It's made out of sprouts. It's not like flour, your regular flour bread. It's a little more expensive, but I'm not taking any chances.
Yeah.
I'm not taking any chances. And then another thing I really found out that a man should be eating a half of an avocado a day because it's very excellent for the prostate.
Really?
Yeah. It keeps the prostate healthy.
Interesting. What about sugar?
I cut it out in 17.
Really?
I haven't had it since. The only sugar that I take in is what may be in something, but it's got to be less. It's got to be less than 2 for the sugars because I won't eat it.
Really? So no processed sugar?
No, none.
Wow.
None. I don't eat any sugar at all. I took it completely out of my diet. And I know that's hard to do because my coffee, I even changed that because I found out the coffee that I'm drinking now is made by Laird's and it's got mushrooms in it, which are very good for you and it's very healthy. And the one coffee I have from Laird's is got just strictly mushrooms in it. My second one's got mushrooms and coffee cherries in it, which is full of antioxidants. So what you want to do is you want to get your body built up with these antioxidants so your body can fight. And another thing you want to do, put lemon in your water because that helps raise the alkaline levels because what you want to do, cancer cannot live in an alkaline body. It can only live in an acidic body.
Really?
But once you get your body alkalined, cancer is just going to leave because I ended up in 2020, I had to have dental work done. And so when I had the work done, they gave me pain medicine and they gave me this medicine to kind of stop infections and stuff. Come to find out, not knowing it, it jacks up your PSA. So when I went back to the Cleveland Clinic in February, I was still kind of taking the medication, and they saw my PSA was at a 2.7. And they go, your cancer's back. We're going to have to do x-rays. Okay. So they did x-rays and found out that the cancer on my pelvis was gone. My lymph nodes were all tucked back in place where they were supposed to be. And my prostate was all back down to a normal size. And it looked pretty good. So that tells me that God and I's journey are going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then after that, that little journey I had with that, because they thought my cancer had come back. Later on with the Lupron, I was really having problems with it because Lupron and the Zytiga together messes with your mind, your body. It's like you're almost like you just don't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
You just feel worthless.
Really?
And so I kept fighting because I found out if I exercise, it's going to help me. So my first time I walked a quarter of a mile, and I thought, man, I did really good here, you know. So, but now today I walk 5 miles with no problem at all.
Do you do that on a regular basis?
Pretty much in summertime, about every day.
Really?
Yeah.
5 miles.
And so what happened is after they found out that everything was back in place, and so I didn't have cancer come back. It was actually dying.
Wow.
So after that little situation I had with the dental and stuff like that, then I really was having, like I said, I was really having problems with the Lupron and that. So I decided to call my urologist because all the Tussock Center kept telling me was, well, you're going to have to take Lupron for the rest of your life, dude. That's just the way it is. If you quit taking it, your cancer is just going to take off, and that's it.
Wow.
So what happened was I called my urologist. I got an appointment. I went in, and we sat down, and he looks at me, and I just tell him I'm really having a problem with Lupron. Mm-hmm. I said, it's really, really bothering me. I said, is there anything I can do at all? Because the Tussock Center is telling me I have to take this for the rest of my life. He said, aren't you on a regimen? I said, yeah. He said, do you want me to really be honest with you? He said, I don't think the shot's doing you any good. He said, I think what's controlling you is your regimen that you're taking. It's controlling you more than what this stuff is. And I said, wow. He said, let's try something. So I said, well, what's that? He said, let's just take you off Lupron, see what happens. I said, oh, okay. I'm for it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So after that, he goes, can I ask you another question? He said, what are you doing driving all the way up here to the Cleveland Clinic? He said, do you know how many Cleveland clinics there are between Cleveland and Sandusky, Ohio? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, there's one 15 minutes from my house. Really? I said, it's out on 101. And he said, then you're going there. He said, you won't have to drive up here anymore. Well, that's when he hooked me up with a doctor down there, and he's the first doctor that actually works with me.
Really?
He cares. I mean, at first it was like I was telling him about eating right. He said, you could eat all the broccoli you want in the world. And he said, it's not going to make a bit of difference. And I said, well, how can you say that? He says, because it's not scientifically proven. I thought, God proves it, I guess. So I thought, then I got another challenge. Now I'm going to prove to this guy what I can do, or God and I can do, I should say, because we're on this journey together. And then he found out I was off Lupron. And he goes, oh, your cancer is going to come back. He said it's going to come back. He said, I can almost tell you that it's going to come back. And I said, well, let's just see. So after the first visit, second visit comes up, numbers are still the same. Nothing moved, except my PSA went down 1/10 of a point.
Wow.
And
how much time was in between visits?
like every 3 months, because I had to get this shot.
Yeah.
And then I had to get this shot. But once they took me off the Lupron, I still had to go every 3 months because they wanted to do my blood work, make
Yeah.
sure everything's still
Yeah.
staying the same and everything. So then a while later, and I don't know how this happened, Johnson Johnson was supplying me with the Zytiga. And they were helping me on the financial end of it because the pills I were taking was around $11,000 a month for the pills.
The pills themselves were $11,000.
$11,000 for 120 tablets.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Did you have health insurance?
Yeah, I had health insurance. When I first started out, they took it on at 100%. But then later on, they got my insurance company involved, so they were paying part of it, and then Johnson & Johnson paying for the other part.
Okay.
But when I changed doctors, nobody said anything to Johnson & Johnson that I had a new doctor. So they thought I didn't have one. So they canceled me out. So I got a hold of Cleveland Clinics and said, well, what do I do here? Well, you're just going to have to wait till December. In December, we'll try to get things going and everything. And I'm like, this isn't working. So I thought, because I'm gonna run out of pills, because I was taking 4 a night.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I thought, I'm going down to 2 tablets and just see what happens.
So 4 to 2.
I went from 4 to 2 because 2 is better than taking none.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't going to get my medication in time, I'd rather be taking 2 tablets.
Gotcha. Yeah.
In that form. So when I went in for a visit, the lady wanted to know if I still taking my 4 tablets of Zytiga, and I said no. What? I said, no, I'm not taking 4 tablets. I'm taking 2. She goes, I have to go talk to the doctor about this, because I was back to having a nurse practitioner back in the picture. And so she went out and talked to the doctor, and she comes back in. The doctor says, man, with those numbers like that, he said, you know what? Keep him at 2. Let's just see what happens with the 2 pills. So I went down to 2 tablets. And so this last visit I had, went in, he goes, they're saying that if you take 1 Zytiga pill with a well-balanced meal, it's better than taking 4 tablets. He said, you want to try it? See if it works? Yeah, I'll try it. So I have gone from 120 tablets a month down to 30.
Wow.
But I'm going to stay on the 1 tablet because it's going to help keep my maintenance. I'm in maintenance is what I call it.
Okay.
So you have to keep in maintenance with your body and make sure everything's going to work properly.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's incredible. So no shot? Are you still on the shot? So no shot.
No shot. I'm not taking 4 tablets. I'm down to 1 tablet. Wow. And my next goal, I'm going to come off of it completely.
Yeah.
That's when God and I is going to show them what he's done in my life. Because it's just, it's unreal. Life can be short if you really think about it. But there's one thing that I learned about faith. Faith without work is dead. So if you don't try, that's on you. But God's there waiting for you. He's ready to put you on a journey that you've never been on before in your life. And would I do it again? Yes, I would. If I knew all that, I'd do it again, with no problem at all. But it took that pit bull that actually probably opened my eyes. But today I could hug that dog because he actually saved my life.
That's incredible that you had this random encounter with a pit bull that attacked you.
That actually I found out I had cancer.
So had that not happened and you had stage 4.
I'd have died.
Yeah.
I'd have died.
It's incredible when we can look in our lives and we can see how God orchestrates certain things that, that could be a very tragic thing, a dog like that attacking you. And taking something like that and working it for your own good and using that situation for your own good. That had that not happened, you were in the dark. You had no symptoms. You had no clue you had that disease in you like that.
Like I found out that me walking with God, I thought, man, I'm doing great. I mean, I'm worshiping the Lord. I'm praying. I'm tithing. I'm doing everything I can. And I found out that it wasn't good enough. And the reason why I say it wasn't good enough is because I wasn't eating the foods God wanted me to eat. I was eating the foods I wanted to eat. And when I started on my journey with the eating different foods, it was kind of rough at first. Because like with my coffee, I always had to have creamer. But when you start adding creamer, sugar and stuff to your coffee, it kills the antioxidants. And coffee's loaded with antioxidants. And I just learned to do different things the way I needed to do it. And I got stubborn because I had people come at me, oh, can't you eat a little bit of this? Or can you eat a little bit of that? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm here for him.
Wow.
So the thing is, I'm sorry, but the thing is, if you're gonna follow Jesus, just don't have one foot in the door. Plant them both in there because he's going to take you on a ride you've never been on before. And that's where I've been. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It really is.
Wow. Yeah. I want to go back to a point you made a little bit ago where you said faith without works is dead. And we know that to be true. Cancer is difficult. Cancer is horrible.
It's aggressive.
It's aggressive, and it's a horrible disease that a lot of people come in encounters with. I know a lot of people in my life that have gone through it. Some successful, some not successful, and it's a horrible, tragic thing people go through. I have, being a Christian myself, I've seen a lot of faith preaching and a lot of faith talks where you just got to believe. You got to believe, and have faith. God can heal you, and that can absolutely happen. I have heard of that happening, but there's not a lot of messages out there that you hear where it says, "Hey, there are things God created that can help you. There are things you can do to fight this." And sitting back, and I think a lot of it can be psychological as well, where you sit back and have a victim mentality with it too, because it is scary. But then you take what God has given you, the opportunities you had, the research you did, and fighting it. And then God held your hand through that. And that's incredible. And I think people can hear that and be encouraged by that.
He has everything on this earth for you to make it work. It's up to you to make it work.
Yeah.
But you got to put him in the picture.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just incredible. That's the only thing I can really say about it. It's just I'm so blessed.
Yeah.
But my journey is I want to bless others. Right now I'm a mentor for Fourth Angels.
What is Fourth Angels?
I mentor men with advanced stage 4 prostate cancer. And so I talk to people throughout the United States about their journey. And what you mainly got to do is you got to pump them up. You just got to get them to the point where they're going to do it no matter what. And the last guy I talked to, he said, man, I'm 58 years old. And he says, I got kids. And he said, I'd like to really enjoy them when I retire. And I said, well, then you know what you got to do. And he said, I'm going to do it. So you've got to motivate. You got to motivate people, because a lot of times when they hear cancer, they almost like want to give up. Or like what like I told my doctor the other day, the last time I talked to him, I said, if I don't do my job, how can you do yours? And to me, I kind of look at that with Jesus. How do you expect Jesus to do his job for you in life if you're not trying yourself? That's why I say, faith without works is dead. Well, if you're not out trying, but then a lot of times, a doctor will come in, and I think when you get to a point where you are in remission, work to kill it. Don't stop. Work to kill it, because that's what it's about. I mean, that's what I'm in for it for.
Yeah.
I'm in to kill it. I'm not into to get treated all the time.
That's such an incredible story. It really is, to show that God's faithfulness, that, sometimes what fascinates me as I hear a lot of stories like this, a lot of times the way that we think God's going to go isn't always the way that we either want it to go or the way that we thought it would. We do believe, obviously, God is the way maker.
He is.
In this situation, you still had to do your part with it. You put work into this. You did the research. You had to go through a difficult regimen. I mean, I think we all understand that eating food is difficult. Like, we all get that. It's hard to get off sugar. It's, I drink a lot of coffee every day, and my coffee is loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
It's hard to get off of that. And, you had to do the work on your end, and God opened those doors for you and held your hand through that and made a way for you to be successful in that. But a lot of times it's not the way that we think.
No, because in that whole situation, I had to completely change my life. And it's like doing baby steps, because first I had to ask myself, where's your belief? Is your belief in God, or do you believe in yourself? I believe in both, because it takes God to make you work. And then you have faith. Have you got the faith to drive to do it? And then from faith, you come into hope. So you just keep taking steps. But the one that I really had to work with was discipline. I had to stay disciplined with everything I was doing.
Wow. Did you ever struggle with that when you were early on in your, changing your diet? Did you ever, I imagine at first you're very motivated to change that diet, but did there ever come a point when you were like, maybe I could go back to this, or?
No.
No?
I was in it for the long run.
Wow. That's awesome.
I was out to do it.
Yeah.
And I did it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop.
That's awesome. And I have one last question for you. A lot of people that go through horrible things like that, and obviously cancer is horrific. People that get diagnosed with that, or there's other situations in the world that happen, and we begin to question, how can God be a good God when that happens? How can God be a good God? You followed him your whole life. For the most part.
God did not give me my cancer. I created that myself. I created that myself because of the way I ate, the way I was, the way things were.
Wow.
So I had to change my life in order to be healed.
Did you ever, in that early journey, did you ever, in your faith with God, your walk with God, did you ever come to a point where you blamed God at all for it?
No.
Really? So that never crossed your mind to say?
That did not cross my mind, because I knew God wasn't a part of that.
It's awesome.
But I knew God was going to heal me. Once I got on the roll and I found out I went from a 164.4 down to a 34.4,
yeah,
I knew God was in action.
That's awesome.
Which would move me forward.
Wow.
And it just kept going.
I really do believe that as a Christian, it's so important to always have that mentality that God is a good God.
He is a good God.
He is faithful. And there's something about staying positive with that and trusting in him.
You have to stay positive all the time.
Yeah.
You have to stay positive all the time.
And I know it's got to be so difficult.
At first it is. But once you have to be patient. Patience is another thing that we really don't do good with. We want something that's going to happen now. But see, God sends you through this journey so you can see what you need to do.
Yeah. Do you feel you're today closer to God today than you were in 2017?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I was right then. I wasn't even close. Because the Holy Spirit's working to me like crazy. Because I feel the only way I'm going to stay healed is I got to feed my spirit with the Holy Spirit. And even the foods, I got to eat the right foods so that not only my inside of my body is working good, but the spirit's working hard too.
Yeah.
So it kind of all blends in together.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's incredible. Well, I mean, I loved hearing your story. That's absolutely incredible. And I really hope and pray that for anyone who hears this and was able to listen to this, if they're inspired by this.
And when you first heard part of it was when we were in the green room at the back, and Meg has all these pictures up here, and like, well, you pick out how your life is with that, and it's like. First, I told her, I said, I can't find anything up. Oh, she said, there's got to be something up there. I said, well, can I pick out 2? Yeah, you can pick out 2 pictures. So I saw this bicycle broken with no tires on it and everything, all busted up, laying up against the side of a building. And then I saw this beautiful sunset. And when I picked those pictures up, that bicycle was me when I was 65 in 2017. That was me. I was broken. But then today, it's the most beautiful sunset you ever saw in your life.
Wow. That's awesome.
So
that's really awesome. Wow. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you.
I know, you're doing a lot of great work today.
I'm not done.
And yeah, God's got more for you.
I'm not done because I want people to be cured of cancer. And I know there's treatments out there, but, the godly way is the only way.
Yeah.
I feel. I mean, he's got everything out there for us. Why can't we just work off of his stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. At first, I feel that you may need, radiation, chemo, but when you get into remission, God's giving you the opportunity, dude. Do it. Fight.
Yeah.
Kick your faith in high gear and get going.
Yeah.
Because, I would never become a king like David, but I'm always going to have victory. I'm always going to have victory in my life.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I appreciate you sharing that. And I know people are going to be blessed by hearing this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.